Hey everyone, Amina here with the Float Small Business Podcast, speaking with Sam Pardue from Indow and Clean Practice about a safety workflow that he and his team created to guide businesses as they reopen over the weeks and months to come. Thanks so much, Sam.
Thank you so much for being here. It's really great to have your interest in what we're doing.
I get the impression that a lot of businesses are committed to reopening responsibly and safely, but don't really know how to go about it, and because of that they feel scared. Like, is it going to be a liability to open
Right.
up? Is it an ethical question
Yes.
whether to open even if the government says that it's safe to do so? Do you feel like, I don't know, how do you feel about that?
The fear that people feel is really real, and it can actually cloud the mind and keep you bogged down and actually keep you out of positive action. And the best way to address the fear and the best way to reduce any potential liabilities and the best way to reduce risks is to try not just to reopen randomly, but to try to reopen with a really purposeful and structured way so that you do it really
Right.
well. And I think that's kind of what's been missing from all of the dialogue, and the rush to reopen right now feels very haphazard and hectic. And it feels like we need to do a little bit more thinking about how to do this right so that people feel safe and confident in what they're doing.
Yeah.
Clean practice is certainly not a complete answer. And what I like to think about is in reopening, there's the what you should do, which, there's these lists of prescribed measures from the state, which you can't avoid. But then there's the how you do that. And I think the best way
Mm.
to, answer the how question is to reflect on the opportunity that you have to really engage your team and your people in the answer. And that's what clean practice is really trying to do.
Yep.
COVID-19 is almost always transmitted by human behavior. And so the ultimate answer to human behavior, until we have a little pill that makes our problems go away, which is Americans always want a little pill that makes their problems go away. But until we have the little magic vaccine that makes our problems go
Yeah.
away, the answer lies in changing human behavior.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're a leader of an organization and you're trying to figure out how can I, really engage my team and really change their behavior so that they're less likely to get sick, or they're less likely to come to work sick,
Yeah.
or they're less likely to get sick, in the workspace, that ultimately is a human behavior change that needs to happen. And the best way to change human behavior is really by engaging the team in participating and creating and implementing the solution rather than making a top-down mandate. Right now, in our society, it's all coming as a top-down mandate from the state, down onto organizations. And that's one reason why it can feel really intimidating. Well,
Yeah.
if it's really intimidating to you as a business owner to receive a mandate from above, then think about your team members who, if you just give them a mandate from above, it feels that way also. It's like
Yeah.
if you just say, well, here, you have to go do this.
Yep.
These are the measures, go do them. You're basically imposing a top-down mandate on your team.
Right.
That's not a comfortable place to be.
Mm-hmm.
So what Clean Practice is really trying to do is encourage people to organize your people into the response. And by the way, this technique of engaging the entire organization in the response also is really consistent with lean manufacturing principles. The biggest barrier to success is if you don't have buy-in through the whole organization, because you're recommending some pretty systematic changes to how you do business. So I think that's one of the foundational concepts that Clean Practice is really trying to share right now is there is a way to get your people involved, and there's kind of a systematic way. We try to provide a very simple step-by-step way to do that.
Wow, that's really great. So, but I'm under the impression that you're a window manufacturer. So, where did the how how did clean practice come about as an idea? And could you kind of summarize for me what it really is?
Absolutely. Clean Practice is a system for engaging everybody in your organization to create the best possible response to COVID-19 in your workplace. It's really inspired by lean manufacturing principles.
Okay.
My company, Indow, is a mass custom manufacturer of window inserts that just press inside your window frame. But they have to be made with great precision because each one of them is a unique size and shape. out of that came a lot of discipline about how you need to do this to be really efficient. And lean manufacturing is a technique that was really popularized by Toyota Motor Company. It's used everywhere in the manufacturing sector, but it has a bunch of systems for identifying and eliminating inefficiencies in workspaces.
Yep.
So when we responded as a company, we weren't using the clean practice manual because it didn't exist yet.
Yeah.
But what we did is we relied on the skills we had developed to become a mass custom manufacturing company. So clean practice, it's really designed for organizations of all types to be able to use to reopen safely.
Okay. So then I'm a bakery, or I'm a coffee shop, or
Yeah,
I'm a climbing gym.
right.
Can I implement this really quickly, really easily, or is it going to feel just as daunting as the plethora of advice about how to be safe that's coming from all directions?
Right. We can't make that plethora of advice completely go away because there's a lot of sector specific stuff about restaurants and retail locations that needs to be paid attention to. But what I think clean practice really does is all of the elements are very easy, and bakers and retailers and restaurants can use it because it all starts out with there's only 10 principles of clean practice, and they're all meant to be very transparent and very easy and fast to do to get up and running. And it all starts out with creating a plan. We've created a template plan, so you can basically have a basic plan kind of ready to go to use and share with your team. And I think it's important. Everybody should have a plan on how to reopen safely. They shouldn't try, and it shouldn't have to be that everybody has to reinvent the wheel every single time for every enterprise in the United States, because that's a recipe for just crazily varied responses. And some of them are going to be really good, and some of them are not going to be so good.
Yeah.
So what we're trying to do is provide for free these templates and a system that anybody can use to feel a lot more confident. We're trying to provide ways for you to kind of think about your physical space that you work in, respond to it, and feel a lot better about being there.
Yeah, I think it's very important to note that the response in Oregon is going to be different from California, is going to be different in Spain, because the situations are so different that I think we need like a core set of principles, but then get tailored based on that specific situation that you're in. I think one of the core principles in lean manufacturing in Toyota Kata is this idea of continuous improvement. And
Yes.
It seems like you've built it into the clean practice regimen.
Right. Kaizen, yes, the constant improvement upon what you're doing. That's certainly what we intend. It's absolutely required because as the science evolves and our understanding, grows, then the practices should change. In a way, you don't want to have a plan that you fire and forget. You want to be able to help your team move into action. And as they move into action, they start feeling better just by being in motion. And I think that's kind of the whole story behind Float, right? I mean, Float was a personal response that was like, it's better to be in this positive motion when you're in a storm rather than kind of, falling backwards, getting blown by the wind.
Yeah.
And I think if you can extend that principle to your team, to your people that you work with, and help them and be in positive motion in the response, then that's a really helpful thing for them personally, as well as for the safety outcome that you're going to get, which again is going to be better if people are feeling a sense of ownership about it.
Right.
If we are able to spread better practices and better information and better responses, then that will be its own viral spread that will help counteract the one that's so negative. We surveyed our employees fairly recently, and we asked them how well we as an organization have been doing in response to the COVID-19 crisis. And because we had done a really systematic, proactive, and vigorous response that was really participatory, the scores were off the charts. I was like, wow, everybody's super enthusiastic. But I've noticed that's carried over into our business, right? So in this titanic storm we're in, I've never seen our team perform better than they are right now.
Wow.
But most of our office staff is working remote now. But the performance has really been elevated because they did a clean practice implementation. I think that's a message. It's like the morale benefit you get can have an incredibly positive return on time spent, because it's really just time you have to spend to do a really good response to COVID-19. Spend the time, involve your team. Cleanpractice.org has some documents you can use. We do free webinars, and we do have a small elite squad of really great lean practitioners who have walked organizations through participatory change, and they're ready to help too.
Wow. All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. I think that's going to be amazing for the community.